So Bradley Beal is now a Phoenix Sun. Oh my God. Man, time to re-up YouTube. Your boy Young Mustard is back with another video, and it's crazy because I was in the middle of editing my top 30 players in the NBA. Stay tuned for that video, it's coming up soon. But while I was doing so, all of a sudden I got hit with this bomb that Bradley Beal is now a Phoenix Sun. The trade in detail is Bradley Beal to the Suns in exchange for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, a bunch of second round picks, and some pick swaps. Now I'm not going to spend too much time breaking down the details of this because I think it's pretty self-explanatory here. The Wizards wanted to obviously move off of Bradley Beal by any means necessary, even if it meant not getting a return that's going to secure you at least a star player outside of obviously the picks. But in the case of the Phoenix Suns, I can't lie, I think they made a humongous mistake with this decision. The Suns this past postseason, it was very clear that their biggest issue was depth. Having to rely on your duo of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to basically play 40 plus minutes a night was just not going to be substantial. Though they are two of the 10 best players in the NBA, one could argue, and one of the best offensive players of this generation, they still cannot carry a roster that has to give minutes to players like Terrence Ross and Jock fucking Landale. We saw in these playoffs when Chris Paul went down, that was another blow to their already weakened supporting cast. And now instead of focusing on moving some of these players like Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton for depth pieces, they then decide to take on one of the worst contracts in the NBA, matter of fact of all time, I would even say. Look, Bradley Beal is a really good player, and in the right situation he can contribute towards a championship in my opinion. But with the contract that he has, making the amount of money that he has, he is not justifiable to be on a roster like this. At the start of next season, Bradley Beal will be 30 years old and will be owed $46 million, then $50 million at 31, then $53 million at 32, and $57 million at 34. The most that you're going to get out of Bradley Beal has probably already passed him at this stage in his career. He is not the 30-point per game scorer that he was in the 2020 and 2021 NBA seasons. It doesn't mean that Beal doesn't have value, but at this stage in his career, you could even make the argument that he's not even a top 30 or 35 player in the league. And you throw into the fact that over the last 2 seasons, he has been able to play over 50 games. He only played 40 games in the 22 NBA season, and just this past season was limited to 50 games due to another injury-riddled year. I mean, I don't want to make it seem all bad because there is value with Bradley Beal on any team. He's one of the better offensive players at his position. His ability off ball is second to very few players in the NBA, and just this past season he had a pretty solid year, I would even say. But when you combine the injuries over the last 2 seasons and the fact that he is obviously in decline from his peak seasons of 20 and 21, it's very clear that adding him to this scenario is just the Suns doubling down on their mistake last season. And that mistake isn't having Kevin Durant on the roster to team up with D-Book, it's the fact that they don't have any supporting pieces to help aid their high maintenance. This team has gotten worse defensively with this trade because Bradley Beal is not a plus defender. And if you want to say he can improve to being average with less offensive responsibility, I can even listen to you on that. But unfortunately, this team still lacks with a lot of rim pressure. Bradley Beal can get to the rim, but he shouldn't be your #1 source of rim pressure on any roster that's trying to win a championship. Then you throw into the fact that this same Phoenix Suns team now has to probably put Devin Booker at point guard, which limits a lot of what he can be as a scorer. Yeah, I don't think Bradley Beal is going to be able to hold the responsibility that they think he's supposed to be able to hold. Like I said, if they made this trade about 3-4 years ago when Beal was that 30-point per game guy that he used to be in 20 and 21, I would have a little bit more time accepting this reality for them. But on a roster that already struggles with rim pressure, with guys like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker struggling to get to the rim with ease, especially for a guy like KD whose handle is consistently getting worse and is regressing as an on-ball scorer each and every year, I just don't see the value in adding Bradley Beal to this scenario when you're just going to have to fill it out with players like Tony Snell and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Now, I'm not going to say all hope is lost because there is DeAndre Ayton on his way out. Let's be serious. There's a big chance he's going to be traded this offseason. And if he is moved, there's definitely a chance they could get some depth to fill out the roster. But how much depth are we talking? We're talking about the best case scenario having 5 to 6 legitimate rotation pieces, 7 at the most I can see. And we've seen throughout the course of NBA history that unless you have the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant on the squad, you need depth to win championships. We just saw the Nuggets win with depth on their roster. Guys like like Christian Braun, KCP, Bruce Brown stepping up outside of their stars. In 22, you had guys like Gary Payton, Jordan Poole coming up off the bench, being big for them at times. You could look at the 2021 year with the Milwaukee Bucks having Bryn Forbes off the bench outscoring Jimmy Butler in the first round, or someone like Bobby Portis being huge for them in the NBA Finals. Depth is very key towards winning a championship and consistently being contenders in this league, and the Phoenix Suns lack that. And as I mentioned earlier, injuries are not only an issue with Bradley Beal, but injuries were an issue with Devin Booker last year, and if you want to say that's an outlier, I can level with you there. But Kevin Durant is injury prone to the bone, and it's not like their minutes are going to go down, their minutes are going to go up, and with more responsibility, there's a higher chance of injury for all of these players. I truly don't know what the Suns are cooking. It is new management, so they're just trying to go in a new direction than the previous one, but it doesn't seem to be the case because they're prioritizing star talent over having a full fleshed out roster, which is just never the case when it comes to winning a championship. You can find an outlier here or there like the Warriors, but the Warriors were able to capitalize off of so many things financially in their front office that the Suns are not in a position to capitalize off of, especially with these new CBA rules. And to everybody that's saying, oh, they could just move Bradley Beal mid-season, I don't think it's that simple. As I said earlier, Bradley Beal's trade value was never that high to begin with because of how much is on his contract and the no trade clause that was there. And even then, there were still a couple of teams that were interested in Bradley Beal. But with Beal having that no trade clause, he was in control of his destiny, which is why the Suns were able to trade not that much for him. I mean, there were even reports that Bradley Beal wanted to go to Miami if they were able to get him without giving up Tyler Hero. That's how in control he was over that situation. But now that he has waived the no trade clause to go to Phoenix, he is not in control of his destiny. He can't pick and point to teams and say, trade me here, trade me there. It's not going to happen that way. And with him still playing at the level that he was last year or the year prior, that is not a player that people are going to want to trade for that kind of contract on. I mean, we just saw Kevin Durant over the last year struggle to find a team to be traded to due to the fact that a lot of teams didn't want to give up the depth to get KD in that contract, combined with the fact that he's injury prone. And Bradley Beal is getting paid more money than Kevin Durant, and there's also a chance he could be injured, and he's on the decline. So any thoughts of moving Bradley Beal, especially mid-season, it's going to be a lot easier said than done. So go ahead, Suns front office, pick up the phone, call up Tony Snell, call up Hassan Whiteside, call up OJ Mayo, and make the call to those vet minimums to get them on the roster, because there's going to be a lot of NPCs around Beal, KD, and D-Book. But hey, that concludes this video. I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comment section. The question of the day, of course, who do you believe won this trade, the Washington Wizards or the Phoenix Suns? Let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.